Today, me and Jericho will cover a big part of world history, an era whose changes and impacts are still very visible in the world we live in. The age of imperialism made changes that shaped countries from disorganized strips to world powers. We will talk specifically how the Europeans established their rule in Africa, and how that has changed the lives of the people living there. I will cover one of the biggest islands in the East African coast, which we all know as Madagascar. Madagascar was not very civilized. In fact, was one of the most degrading countries in the continent of Africa. The Europeans did have many negative impacts while they were there, but the inevitable positive effects were still more visible than the negative impacts, which will be covered later on. The country Jericho will be doing today is Algeria. Algeria was very isolated from the rest of the world due to its unique civilization and cultures in Africa. Although it shares many similarities with Madagascar, Algeria was actually legally considered a part of France. This enabled a much easier takeover of the country than did from Madagascar. More information of this will be provided later on.
Today we have two special guests, one from Madagascar and Algeria, to present information about the respective African countries. It will be a discussion of whose country was more influential by the imperializer, and how it has influenced the life of many people today. Hassan and Jericho, please come up and present your interesting facts.
First of all, before we begin, I would like to thank TED Talks for presenting us both with this absolutely amazing opportunity to express ourselves and our feelings towards our countries, which is Madagascar and Algeria. So, as our topic of discussion, the first question we're going to ask everybody is that why were our countries imperialized by Europe? So first of all, yes, so Madagascar was, as we all know, very rich in natural resources. And considering the fact that Europe was running out of those, it was fairly obvious that they would come to Madagascar first.
For Algeria, we all know that Algeria was really rich in the 1800s. Algeria had petroleum and natural gas, and also the French were in competition for land and colonies against other European countries.
And so that was our first question that was just be answered. The next question we're going to talk about is that how did the Europeans justify their imperialist actions? Also, Europeans said that by accumulating new territories, it would further open the world to new trade and enlighten and civilized cultures and help maintain the balance of power. So European countries strive for colonization because many European countries lack the natural resources to progress.
Yes, I agree with that. It was also because this way they did not have to buy goods from other countries, thus keeping their money in their own country. I believe these reasons were not justified. In reality, imperialism led to war, exploitation of natives, greed, and racial inequalities.
Alright, so next is that in Madagascar, the French came with only one purpose in mind, to take its natural resources and land. Madagascar became a French colony during the end of its 19th century. When the French first arrived, there was lots of confusion between the people. They at first did not understand that what or who these people were, and how they have such magical resources, as we can say, technology, as they thought of it. So the French came with no clear purpose, but only to extract the natural resources. The Malagasy people were not pleased, and they often fought the French. However, due to the French's superior technology, the Malagasy often lost.
I can also relate to what happened to Algeria because the exact same thing happened to Algeria. They also went to Algeria for their resources, as I said before. They wanted the petroleum and their natural resources.
So the next question we're going to talk about is that, what was life like in your locations before the Europeans arrived?
Well, there are obviously many differences. Some being that Algeria were ruled by the Ottoman Empire. Their life was really hard since they were ruled.
And so those are interesting facts you shared, because life in Madagascar was also quite similar before the French arrived. Madagascar was, in one word, chaotic. Many tribes waged wars to capture prisoners and sell them to other Arabs or slave traders. So sometimes the conditions were so bad that sometimes the Malagasy even sold their own people just for profit. So, the next question that I'll talk about is that what effects do the Europeans have on our locations?
So many people in Nigeria died. It was a massacre. It was really horrific reading about it. Rebellions were started because they didn't want the French to take their country or to stay in their country. When the French left, the government was really unstable, which made Algeria go into chaos. But on the bright side, new crops were introduced in Algeria and roadways, railways, and canals were built.
And so Madagascar was both helped and bothered by the French rule, of course. The positive effects were that roads were built and that railroads were fixed as well. Thus, the people benefited as transportation increased by significant amounts. But the negative impacts cancel out the positive effects in this case. Because negative impacts were that lots and lots of people died trying to earn their freedom from the French. And so the literacy rates were also very low, and infant mortality rates were even high, as many children died in infancy and many babies weren't able to be born because people were being treated really badly. So how is imperialism different for the two locations? Well, imperialism was the same for locations as they were both under French rule. Another major similarity was that people from both countries were massacred by the French. Another similarity is that both places were taken over because they had plenty of natural resources and that the land was used as a catalyst for their growth. And so their fertile land was also extremely desirable to grow exotic crops and that were intended to be sold to other nations as profit.
So some differences that Algeria was mainly taken over because of its land, and Algeria had lots of land. Although both Madagascar and Algeria were in paradise, Algeria was legally considered an integral part of France, while Madagascar was one of the biggest islands in the East African coast.
Alright, and then again, our countries were affected a lot by the imperialized rules. So this has been a truly amazing atmosphere for us to talk into, and we sincerely thank TED Talks again for presenting us with such an amazing opportunity to express our own feelings. Thus, we hope to see you again hopefully in another talk. But until then, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you to you two for taking the time out to come and be part of this exciting conversation about our shared future. Now please write and tell us what you make of the event today. But for now, on with the show.